So what are problems? I've been talking about problems with air quotes this whole time, so I think it's time for me to kind of address that. I still use that word, but my relationship to the word has really, really changed over this last few years. Because I don't really see problems as I used to. Problems are issues. Again, I still use the word. It's a convention that works to explain a situation. But what we label as a problem, that is something that we might want to fix or change, it's the label that can cause us some more suffering. So let's say there's a situation of what is. So we're seeing something that in our lives that we don't like. Maybe it's extra weight. Maybe it's a boss we don't like. Maybe it's the suffering in the world, which is not something I'm saying you're not going to do anything about. It's just your experience of that. It is what it is. It's not good or bad. We have a label of whether it's good or bad. I might say that seeing someone suffer is bad. I don't know if that's true or not. It is happening. So there's the things that are happening. There might be extra weight on your body. There might be, you might be having a problem with your child. Whatever that thing is, it's happening. It's the thing that's happening. How we engage with it, the labels we have of it, the stories we create about it and that we buy into about it, that's what the problem is. The thing itself is never the problem. The thing itself is never the problem for you. It's how you are perceiving it via thought in the moment. So if you see, 5 extra pounds as awful for you, or 100 extra pounds, whatever that is, you will suffer because your thinking says, this is the worst, I have to get it off. If you see that your boss is, whatever they're doing, unethical or too hard on you, that is how they are. That is happening. How you engage with it is how you're going to experience it. Now, I'm not saying that that's good or bad. That is simply descriptive. It's not prescriptive, but that is how we experience it. So is it really a problem? Or is it that we have a certain kind of thinking about it? Maybe we have an expectation that it shouldn't be like that. Hello, thought, that's thought. Maybe we have a bunch of shoulds about what we should or shouldn't be doing with respect to that thing. Thought, that's thought too. It's all, and all that thought is made up. And we could have a different thought about it on a different day. You could walk in and be in a good mood, and so you don't notice the same things. That's your experience in the moment being created by thought. So what if there are no problems? It's just that you're engaging with thinking and calling it a problem. So I know it's a little bit of semantics, but it actually can really help to shift things, to see problems as a bunch of thinking that's a certain way. And that sometimes that thinking can really create a lot of suffering. In fact, pretty much all our suffering is created by thinking. So that's how I'd like to present. So that's what I want to share with you about problems. So seen that way, nothing is a problem unless we think it's a problem. One example might be, let's say you've got someone in prison and they're isolated, and maybe you've got 2 people in prison. One, it happened for some reason he's in prison, but there's a monk. There's an enlightened monk, and one is someone who has a murderer, who has robbed and murdered, and they're in isolation. So sitting there with their own thoughts, for the person who has awful thinking, who has hurt others, who has, done things that they've labeled as bad, and maybe other people in society would label that as bad as well, they may sit in that room and suffer. It could be hell to sit there with their own thinking. They may They may be pulling up all the past stuff, all the thinking that led to those behaviors might be replaying. Maybe they had an awful childhood, and maybe all that stuff is just playing and playing and playing, sitting there with their thoughts alone. They might just feel like they're going mad. And then you put the same cell and you put someone, a monk who's been studying on their own, and they've been living in a cave, and they sit in this space, same room, and they're in bliss. Their entire experience is bliss. There's no fear, there's no worry. They recognize that the thoughts are coming and going. There's a deep meditation. So is the isolation the problem? Not really. It's the thinking that each being is experiencing in that moment that creates the problem. So I hope that kind of drives it home.